Thank you so much, Stefan, for joining today. Guys, I'm very happy to introduce you, Stefan Bossuwé. He is one of the most prominent business analysts in Europe. He started Brussels chapter, one of the chapters that Belarus chapter is using as a role model for us, because it's a great chapter with a lot of different activities and they do amazing stuff. So I'm really happy to meet you today, Stefan, and I would like to learn a bit from you. So my first question would be about starting the chapter. You was one of the co-founders, as I know, and one of the people who established it almost 15 years ago. Then serving in this chapter for all this year, you also was a deputy director for the EMEA region for Western Europe. So you are very dedicated as a volunteer to the IIBA. So my question is, where you find this motivation to be a volunteer?
Well, it has to do a little bit with how I grew into the role of business analyst. So I grew from a programmer and analyst, but more functional analyst, into business analyst, because often I was doing functional analysis and bumped in with my head into the wall with the whole team, because there was no business analysis done. So, but at that time, the role didn't exist really. So I said, like, I need to be closer to the business. And then I got very motivated, to create a chapter, but it was with a number of people who wanted to do something to build up a community in Belgium around business analysis. And then we found out there was something called the IIBA, who is supporting that kind of thing, which is called a chapter. And then we says like, hey, we think they're doing good stuff. Let's make ourselves a chapter of IIBA. So IIBA was not first. We were first want to do something around business analysis. And then we found IIBA, we affiliated with them. And the reason I'm that motivated, because that's the reason I told the story earlier, is because I want to help people to not to have the frustration that I had as a functional analyst, bump into the head because there was no business. I think we really have to promote the role of business analysis and make it important. And that's why I'm very motivated. For many years already, since 2009, where we started to the creation of the organization. We became an official chapter in 2010. I've been president for 10 years. But the last year was in a dual role with Philip, who is the current president. And as of then, I was ambassador. I'm still ambassador of the Brussels chapter. And and I've been 2 years the regional deputy director of Western Europe. First with Victoria. Maybe you know Victoria, who was the
previous.
Yes,
she helped us to start the chapter. So
Victoria Coppert, and then afterwards with Alex. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good story. So helping business analyst, from business analyst to business analyst, like helping people to avoid this frustration without support is important.
Yeah. And the Brussels chapter is there in the first place for the community, and only in the second place affiliated with IIBA. For us, the community is more than only members, the Brussels chapter. So the community in Belgium and Luxembourg, because Luxembourg is also part of our community, it's the most important, and that can be member or non-member, as long as they're interested in business analysis as a business analyst or someone who is interested into it. That's the most important for us. Mm-hmm. IIBA is only there to give some support. That has certification and professional development stuff, which we are very well linked with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So, do you have any secret or any special ingredient how to run a successful chapter for a long haul?
Well, the Brussels chapter doesn't always have been that successful. We have been struggling, and you see that in a lot of chapters, because as a regional deputy director, I've been in touch with a lot of chapters, but not only in Europe, but all over the world, except maybe North America, is struggling with volunteers.
Yes.
And
we know it's a struggle.
And especially volunteers who take ownership of events or professional development, taking ownership. that's the hardest part. And so we have been doing events twice a year for 6 7 years. And then we had suddenly a few volunteers who made a dynamic movement, of which the current president, Philip, started as a vice president on events in 2017, and he brought some new energy, which was necessary. I couldn't do it on my own anymore, because the volunteers from the beginning, it was like they were always waiting. They didn't always take ownership, so I had to do a lot of stuff. But now it's with the volunteers. But still, even Brussels chapter is struggling volunteers because our vice president events has dropped off, and so we are doing with the rest of the team trying to set up events. But it's struggling with volunteering. So we do have a few good ideas, and Philip comes with quite a lot of them. And the Brussels Cafe, the BA Cafe, we do every Friday, which is open to anyone around the world. And we have people from everywhere around the world attending. It's good fun. It's not always about business analysis, but it's with people interested in business. So it's with peers having a coffee, but you have to bring your own drink. It's BYOD. Bring your own drink. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you that volunteers is a key secret of any successful chapter, and for our also. And having the opportunity, I want to say thank you for all the volunteers who helped us to make this video happen, for all these volunteers who are leading this BA Leadership Talks project. So guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you do for this project.
Oh, the interview, impressive.
I know that this will be on YouTube for ages, and I'm really happy that I have a chance to say thank you for these people, and we will mention everyone, guys. So thank you for
Congratulations to all those.
And do not cut it from this video. You're the success. Yeah, you're the successful part of any IIBA chapter, volunteers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, how do you think? What is the best benefit or the greatest value that a BA can get from joining the IIBA? Because it provides a lot of resources, and many people do not really understand, like, why do they need all these resources? What is the real benefit for them?
Well, I'm doing a white paper on that because it's not always easy. For example, there are many countries who don't speak very well English. So membership is tough, and we see also IBA not having great memberships over there. So a lot of the value that IBA is delivering is English spoken. So the website is English, and so on and so on. We do have now a few translated baboks, and there are now more and more a few exams like the ECBA. So they are having a few languages, but that's limited to that part. Whereas, well, most of the website, you as an IBA member, you have access to about 11,000 books, of which almost all of them are English spoken. So first of all, if you're not speaking very well English, it might be a bit difficult to find value for an IBA member. But if not, there's a lot of stuff to do. You've got access to quite a lot of resources, those books, for example. And and you also have that community, like the different chapters and so it's not always only your chapter, because we have a lot of people from Belarus, a few also attending our BA Cafe. So we do tend to find each other, and IBA seems to be a good platform for interacting. IBA is not always actively promoting, well, they do, but they don't do the things themselves. It's the chapters that find each other like a spider web with all of kind of connections. And that's for me currently even a bigger value, the interconnecting with chapters and people from all over the world, and then even the BABOK or the certification. I think the community is for me personally, but it's a personal opinion, even more important. And IBA's not facilitating, partly facilitating, but it's part of what they do. And
I agree. I also value the community most of all. And when I travel somewhere, I start Googling if there is any IIBA chapter, and I try to find someone whom I can meet locally, because it's always a new experience and new conversation, new connection, something that enrich my experience as a business analyst.
Yeah, we just had BA and Beyond, which is the big conference, BA conference in Belgium and Luxembourg, which is also co-founded by the Brussels chapter. And we've had speakers from 4 continents: North America, South America, Europe, and then Africa. And it was really great. Maybe the talks were not always that great, but the networking was wonderful. And we went out for dinner with many of those speakers. It was so wonderful. And BAs tend to be, well, nice people. Well, as far as I know, with the international speakers, they're so kind to each other, and it's very helpful. And you can always ask a question. It's a very supportive community.
I agree with you, yes. And I also feel this support and engagement and kindness. So I'm really happy to be a part of this community. Okay, let's talk more about your experience as a business analyst. You have more than 2 decades of experience and you're still in business analysis. So what do you like most of all in your profession that you stay inside of business analyst? Because many people I know, they decided to live in the business analysis field and join in project management, product management, or just management, go outside of profession, but you're still a business analyst. What motivates you?
Yeah, well, part of it is already is something that happened when I was a young teenager, somewhere around 11, 12 years old. I discovered I love to solve problems. And as a project manager, you're delivering a project and you're bringing people together. But as a business analyst, first you have to discover the problem before you can solve it. It's always the problem discovery. And in my profile, LinkedIn profile, so everyone who wants to see me can join me and ask the LinkedIn connection. But little request that you make a little note why you want to connect with me or where you see me on this video. So it's always like to have a little personal invite. But that's one thing. You see that I've worked in more than 20 different industries, because if I've worked already a few times in an industry and they say like, well, you can choose this one and that one, and I've worked already in, I will choose the one I haven't worked in because there are new problems to discover. I love to discover problems. And in business, even more than function analysis, because on the solutions, yeah, there are some problems, but the real problems are at the business level, and I love to discover them. So each time I do a new industry, I'm like a kid playing with their cars or dolls, whatever. It's always fun to discover a new industry.
Yeah, when I reviewed your LinkedIn profile and read carefully through all these projects you had, I understood that probably you are the person who did everything for the whole Belgium industry, for everything, for all the business, because
well, I think there are even more than 20 industries, but the biggest industries like finance, governmental, and yeah, I've done quite a few of them, and I love it. I'm proud of it. I'm even more proud of working in those many industries than I'm proud of being BA. In fact, yeah.
Yeah. So this is good because I know that many business analysts who are from Belarus, they are from software outsourcing. So they have to change the industry and the project from project to project because they like sold to do for different companies and for different domains, different industries, and they are a bit confused if they need to be dedicated to some particular domain or they can switch their experience. And you're a good example of a person who can get different experience and still in-depth experience in particular industry, but changing it and to have some fun, not to be like very bored with something.
Yeah, and in fact, do you know blind spots, cognitive bias?
Yes.
So if you work always in the same industry, like Einstein says, you can't solve a problem with the same techniques, with the same knowledge with which you created the problem. So it's sometimes
this is the thing, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I like to quote Einstein once in a while. Because he's got some interesting quotes, but it might not be 100% correct, but it's somewhere in that direction. As an outsider, not knowing the domain, you sometimes have better better view and find fresh ideas like, why are you doing that? Because I really don't know why they do it. So my 5 whys are genuine. It's not fake, it's genuine. Like, why are you doing that? And you have in the babok these underlying competencies. Remember chapter, I think 11 or something like that. And you have competencies on soft skills, communication, on ethical, trustworthy, and then you have a few competencies around techniques and technology, and then business domain knowledge. And to be honest, and a lot of people in different industries, they don't like it, but that was the easiest to learn. Business domain knowledge is even much easier than, and then the second easy to learn is techniques and technology. The most difficult are communication, ethical, trustworthiness, it's the soft skills are the most difficult to obtain. And analytical, if you're not analytical, it's very difficult to become a business analyst. But analytical, you can't learn. You acquire that throughout you, even when you're a kid and teenager. And then once you're 20, 25, you're analytical or you're not. You can't acquire it anymore afterwards. So if you miss that skill, I wouldn't go for a business analyst.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that it's something that you can develop in early childhood or at school age, and it's very difficult to switch on your mind when you're like adult, and to become analytical just in a few months, it would be very difficult. If even possible, I don't know. But I believe that people's brain is something that you can develop all the time. So probably it's possible, but to have good analytical thinking, it will take time to develop it from scratch.
Also, being ethical or empathy, that's something you acquire not in a few years, that's something you acquire in almost decades.
Yeah.
So you can't learn that. And if you're not ethical as a BA, I think you should be ethical. It's not because you could do it that you have to do it.
Yes. Because otherwise you can't have trust, and you have nothing in common with your stakeholders. They will do not trust you. They will do not respect you.
For example, I will not work for a gambling company or a company doing tobacco or alcohol. I don't want to work for that kind of company. And I've got a few others like that, but don't let me start.
I believe that it's important for everyone to understand their limits and the range where they want to work and the range where they don't want to work, how they want to get money and how they help others to make money. So it's important. And ethical problems are also valuable when you are thinking about the success of the project. Like if you don't think that the project will be successful, is it ethical to continue doing it and spend money, or you need to raise this topic and talk to someone who is a decision maker, a sponsor, that something is not valuable. So it's a good question. Ethics is something that is really difficult, and you need to master it all the time. And I like that when you go through CBAP certification, there is an ethical code of conduct. And I really like it because it helps in difficult situations. If you don't know what to do, you can consult with it. It's just 1 or 2 pages. It's not too long, but it provides like very serious points to think about. And they're not.
It's a good basis. It's a good basis. I'm even going a bit further than that, personal, but it's a good basis. The ethical code of conduct for the CBAP and the CCBA. You've got.
Yeah, I really like it. It provides like good guidance where to go, where not to go. But I believe that ethical issues is something very personal. It's more about moral aspects of your character, and it's more about
but can you imagine? Can you imagine if you're not ethical, and people will find out that the company you're working with, they're not going to trust you.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You can't do one and not the other. It comes together.
Yeah. All right.
And you need trust. People need to trust you. Otherwise, they won't tell you things that might even jeopardize their job. Because a lot of things on business analysis, is going to project that might automate parts of people's jobs or even become Yeah, yeah, and even if I work for companies, it's like we want to fire a whole team because we want to automate it. I says, okay, look for someone else. I worked for a very good, a great organization, and sometimes they wanted to automate the work of a full team, but they put it in the refrigerator, no, in the freezer. And they started to give those people trainings that they couldn't use in their team, but somewhere else in the big organization because they had a lot of. And then, as everyone was trained in something that they could do anywhere else in the company, then they started to take it out of the freezer and says like, we want to automate part of your team. But you have been trained, so we don't leave you behind, and you will, if it would imply some people that have to change jobs, and but it was for the whole team, but they didn't know. And so we started a project, and they were still collaborating because they felt not that they were left behind. They felt that the company was wanting to keep them on board, but maybe not anymore in that role. And that is ethical. That's a company who takes that very serious. And that kind of company I like to work with, but the company says like, oh, we want to get rid of a team of a few 10 people, 20, 30, 40 people or 100 people. And then we're going to fire them. So this is what you want to automate this. I was like, yeah, have fun. I'm not going to work with you. That's also ethical.
This is a good example, really. I can't recall that I have such projects when it would be complete automation and firing people, but I was engaged definitely in some particular projects where it was optimization, staff optimization. So some people probably would be fired, but I couldn't tell you if it happened or not. I don't know.
No, but optimization is so good. People, they don't want to do the repetitive work, like the boring work. If someone else can take it over and you can focus on more important or more interesting or interesting work, that's fine. There's no problem with that. But if really the intention is to get rid of 20, 30, 40 FTEs, and that's the intention, it shouldn't be the goal. It should to help people do more interesting work and not the boring work.
Yes, and train them or help them to find something different. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is really nice topic that we started to talk about because it's something that probably not obvious for business analysts, and I don't know how many people who will watch it from the IIBA Belarus chapter will think about ethical side of their job. So it's a good topic and it's a good insight for you guys to think about it. So I think that it was a good advice. And also, can you advise something else for junior business analysts who just start their profession, how to be sustainable in their career and how to have a good career, a successful career?
Yeah. Well, I went in my career through quite a few struggles, and it's always like, what is business analysis about? Is it about the how, about the what, about the why? And I always refer to the requirement requirement in the BABOK. Mm-hmm. So for me, business analysis is about the most of them the stakeholder requirements. Because we are working with people, not only with users, because when you talk about users, it's already to the solution. And then we go to functional or system analysis, and that is something we share with people with a functional or system analysis role. So that everyone always look very careful. Are we going to investigate the why? Why are we doing that? Or what the stakeholders need? Or how we make sure that the stakeholders can have their needs satisfied, and then the transition requirements. So even if you start business analysis, go to the BABOK, look at chapter 2, or the business analysis standard, which is free available. Look at those different requirement categories, understand them very well, and if you don't mingle the why and the what and the how, first why are we doing these change initiatives? Okay, if everyone is agreed, that's why we're going to do that. Then what do the different stakeholders need? And sometimes there are conflicts in stakeholder requirements. That's possible, but then you have to find compromises. And then only then you should start with a solution requirements. But so many business analysts are really pushed in those solution area, which is in fact system analysis, functional analysis, which is okay, it's necessary. But if they have never done something before that, the pre-project analysis, you might, like me, bump with your face many times into the wall, and it's just make sure that you know why you're doing the project and what the stakeholders need, not the users, the stakeholders. And some of the stakeholders will be a user later on, and that is very difficult. With a lot of organizations, they see it differently. They see like a BA. In fact, they see it like a system analysis with a senior level, but that's not what it is. And I had to struggle until a few years ago before I could really persist in having that idea and having that motivation. And now I'm working with a customer, because I'm a consultant, that really thinks exactly the same. And I hope I can stay there for a long time, because even in Belgium, a lot of companies think business analysts should be more the senior functional analysis. Yeah. So even as a junior, you should be aware. Don't always let you throw into that solution if you haven't looked into the step back. Business analysts should be able, first, they have to be analytical, but also to be able to take a step back. And to step back is you have to be calm, you have to be relaxed. Mindful, maybe, because we have the mindfulness, mindful BA. You have Katie Workage from Australia. So even if you are able to do some mindfulness or some meditation, to be relaxed. Don't let yourself be annoyed by stakeholders. Like, just relax.
I totally agree with you, and I also am very happy that you highlighted this topic, that stakeholders' requirements are not just user requirements. We have more stakeholders than just users. It's important to know and to remember, and that we always should trace our requirements to why.
The BABAC doesn't speak of user requirements; they speak about solution requirements.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I noticed that it's a common problem from BSA. I call them BSAs because I work now with people who are named business system analysts, and their problems, and the majority of business analyst problems, is that they jump in the solution, and they have very few, I would say, minutes to consider if they have anything about the why, the business requirements, if they understand stakeholders, if they know the list of their stakeholders, if they understand their requirements. They always push to the solution itself. They focus on the solution, and a lot of problems are happening because if they have conflicts between requirements, if they don't understand priorities, is a topic of more high-level requirements, like what are the stakeholders' requirements, what are the business requirements, why do we need this, why do not we need this, who can influence these requirements, and so on. So this is really great advice. Thank you for sharing it with our butchers, our followers.
Yeah.
And I think that we're very close to the topic that you started, and I really like the idea. So you're a person who is very dedicated to the holistic approach for business analysis. So can you please share more about the idea of the holistic BA?
Well, normally I do a talk about 45 minutes on holistic business analysis, and I'm willing to do that for the Belarus chapter or remotely, no problem. I can do that another time. But first of all, holistic comes from the Greek word holos, which means that you see, which means all, entire. And in fact, it's a concept where you look at things not only as a part, but as the whole and its part. Because a lot of people think holistic is to look at the whole. No, it's to look at the whole and the parts. Like, for example, if you look at your car, you're not saying, hey, look, there's my engine with a steering wheel, with a fuel tank. No, you say, it's a car. But at the same time, you're very well aware there's a fuel tank, because otherwise we won't be driving along, or a battery. It's a steering wheel, you've got doors, there's an engine, because otherwise it won't be moving. You are aware, and we do that with a lot of objects. Like a car is the whole of the car and all the parts. But we often don't do that with organizations. And in fact, we should look at organization in a holistic way, that each time we do something on business analysis, we have to question ourselves, how does this work that we're doing impact the whole organization, but other parts of the organization? So it's like always have to have this impact question with you, not only for the HR department that you're doing some analysis work for, but also maybe the finance department, and certainly for all the employees, because if you do something as HR, it will impact the employees, very sure, but also the whole organization. So you always have to be aware of the whole organization and all the other departments or parts in their processes, people, and so on.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I really like it. And I think that the whole business analysis is about this. And as I told, sometimes it happens that we are dedicated just to a particular part of the solution, but we should have.
In fact, the holistic mindset, because it's a holistic mindset, it should be part of the DNA of BA professionals or BA practitioners.
Yes,
it should be part. That's my conviction.
I think it's somewhere in the core competencies. It's like about systems thinking, when you see the system as a whole picture, and your solution is just one part of the whole system. So it's much more other parts connected.
Yeah. But system thinking doesn't need to be holistic. You can look at. So it's an approach, but it doesn't need to be holistic by default. And in fact, if you look up the BABOK and you look up holistic or holism,
you wouldn't find the source.
No, you will find it. The BACM, the business analysis core concept model in the BABOK. You should type it in and find. And if you have the PDF version of the BABOK, you can find it. At the first moment, it's mentioned a few times in the book. But the first time they mention is chapter 2 at the BACCM, and it has a very holistic view of BACCM.
Yes, I agree. Okay, I will find how many words holistic is counted in the BA book and I read. But I also like the BACCM because I think it's the first part you need to start your BA project always.
Yeah, I always try to start with the BACCM. Yeah. In fact, I've done a workshop in London. Last time I was there with the BA conference in London, and I did an exercise on the Brexit. It was before they made any decision between England and the EU. It was in 2018. And what came out, we used the BACCM to change the context in the EU, a hard Brexit and a soft Brexit, and what the impact would be on the needs of the people, the merchants, and the government. And at the end, we decided at that moment the Brexit doesn't make any sense, even 2018. And then, which was fun, after the Brexit, I looked at the result, and it came out. It was almost 99% what we predicted in 2018. And the soft Brexit was a transition period. There was 1 year of transition period. And the real Brexit was in fact a hard Brexit. So it was even as a BA, it had nothing to do with IT, but business analysis has nothing to do with IT. But it often results in spin-off IT projects.
Yeah, yes.
But on its own, it doesn't have to do anything with IT. Yeah,
and it provides the holistic thinking that you can apply everywhere in the life.
Exactly. Yeah, correct.
And, we started talking about how you predict the future using this core concept model. So you will talk about the future of business analysis profession. What can you think about it? Because at this moment, there is a lot of gossips, like it would be consumed by product management. It would be like no need for business analysts at all because it would be replaced with artificial intelligence and other different ideas that I don't really think they make sense.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think artificial intelligence is something we have to be aware of, because I believe that, for example, system analysis and function analysis will be easier replaced by artificial intelligence than business analysis, because in business analysis, what I already mentioned before, the soft skills are very important. And artificial intelligence is not so good at the soft skills. It's good at the functional and tangible stuff, which you have in system and function analysis. So those people, they should be worried, or maybe become BA. So as a BA, I'm not that worried yet that artificial intelligence will take over our role. But which you will see, because have you already interviewed, because you're also going to interview my good friend Fabrizio?
No,
Julian?
tomorrow we will talk with him tomorrow.
Okay, well, say hello to him. And he's about the BA mindset. And I think it's more important because a business analyst is a title, which I found out even in Belgium is interpreted in very different ways, and even sometimes in the same organization. So I stopped using more and more the BA, the business analyst, but the BA practitioner or the BA professional, and more about the BA mindset. I rarely talk about business analyst, but I talk about business analysis practitioner. So the role on its own, I don't know if it's going to survive in that name, but the business analyst mindset, I think it will never disappear because it's like looking for what's the problem and what do the people need with regards to that problem, and how are we going to make sure that those people get what they need. That will never disappear.
And this is so difficult to explain to artificial intelligence what exactly you need, because you need to be very good in writing your requirements, because otherwise you will receive very holistic reply.
It didn't shit out, they say.
Yes. Yeah. No, I played with ChatGPT a lot with writing user stories, and like I wouldn't say that it's very ugly. It's okay, but it's like I was at trainee level of business analyst. Yeah. It's not appropriate for real projects.
Yeah, and now we get to that. Last year, IIBA released the BA standard, in which they also introduced the sustainable requirements. So sustainability requirements. Sorry. So at at BA Beyond, I did a talk on sustainability requirements. So a lot of people are playing with ChatGPT. I haven't done it yet. I have used AI, but not ChatGPT. And we found out it uses enormous amount of energy, resources. And just like cryptocurrencies, it uses tremendous amount of resources. So we have to be careful about resources that we use. So if we use artificial intelligence for professional reasons, for playing around, not too often. I wouldn't abuse it, because those resources, like in Norway, they wanted to do, maybe not a good story, but they wanted to make a lot of ammunition for Ukraine. And they couldn't, because the energy, Norway has lots of energy, it doesn't have nuclear plants. They have their energy from waterfall and kind of very green energy. And they couldn't, because the TikTok server park was taking too much. TikTok, can you imagine, was taking too much resources. So they couldn't do a lot of, there were factories for ammunition, but they couldn't deliver because there was not enough energy. So that's a problem of today. So, and that's not even artificial intelligence. That's simply TikTok. People dancing around make a lot of nice videos, and that is already taking so much. So we have to be careful and not abuse the resources. So I'm also getting a bit more sustainable in my talks, more and more, and that's also part of the ethical part.
Yes, so, I just wanted to say that. Yes, it's about ethical part.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting conversation with you today, Stefan. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm happy.
I really enjoyed this talk, and probably we will invite you for further conversation for chapter members in some events. So thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned a lot, and I really like you to share this holistic view, ethical issues, and sustainability requirements. So it was a very great conversation. Thank you so much.